2023 wasn't a good year for the Carolina Panthers, but I'm trying to make 2024 a better one for myself. Get started on your resolutions with Factor so you're ready for the new year. Factor's ready-to-eat meal delivery takes the stress out of meal planning and sets you up for success in the new year. Skip the grocery stores, prep work, and cooking fatigue. Instead, get chef-crafted, dietitian-approved meals delivered right to your door. With over 35 meals to choose from per week, including keto options, calorie smart, vegan plus veggie, and more, plus over 55 weekly add-ons, you'll have a ton of nutritious and flavorful options to kickstart your resolutions. Skip that overpriced takeout trap. Factor is cheaper and way more delicious than takeout. Get chef-crafted, restaurant-quality meals delivered right to your door, and they're ready to heat and eat in just 2 minutes, which means more time for you. Head to factormeals.com/C350 and use the promo code C350 to get 50% off. That's code C350 at factormeals.com/C350 to get 50% off.
Down on our knees, and we asked her to marry us, and she said no. We feel awful. Do you want to lose, David? No. Nobody wants to win. Everybody wants to win. I want players that hate to lose. Plain and simple. I want players that I know when the game is over, they are crawling into the locker room. They need help getting their gear off. And it's going to take them time to get in the shower. I want the buses to be late to the airport if we travel.
All right. It's the C3 Panthers podcast. It's up here.
And it's hot. And it's hot.
All right, folks. 9:02 on a Tuesday night after the Panthers have dropped their third consecutive. Right? It is, we have been losers too frequently for what we were prepared for this season. We fall to the Seattle Seahawks 30-27 when it seemed like the game should have been ours. Missed opportunity, what you will hear, and we're here tonight on the show to help you find those opportunities to mourn, to grow, to get through what was the 6-2 start and now a 6-5 record. Cody Lashney here tonight to help me make sense out of a world with pain in it.
Tone it done, man. We are the counselors, and our podcast is the couch for everyone to lay down on. Vent with us, baby. It's the C3 podcast. We do this every Sunday and every Tuesday night. We're here again. You know we have so much to talk about it, and there ain't nothing to it but to do it, so let's just do it.
We appreciate all the support in the chat room. Welcome, Lynn, Carlton, Jeremy, Michael, Will, Nova Black. The cat calls lines. The mailbox is full. I mean, not full that you can't continue to call, but there's a good bit of agony, frustration, and a lot of people searching for answers. In fact, this 3 consecutive loss here made I'm sick. I'm physically sick from what we've had to endure. And so we're going to talk about all that tonight, how the coaching staff is dealing with this, how the Panthers players are reacting, how the fan base is reacting, and what we see coming out of this, heading against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And we're doing it with you guys. James Woodley coming strong. Thank you, my friend, for the support. He said, go to the Stephen A. Smith show, 11/27/2018, and listen at 25:43. He answered the question on what our problem is on YouTube. Go ahead and check that out. You guys check that out. We'll be sure to integrate that in the show at some point. We'll try to get it on tonight if we can. Go ahead and subscribe on YouTube. Turn your phone to portrait mode. Smash that thumbs up button. If you're watching on Facebook, we appreciate it. Go ahead and smash that like button. Share the show with a friend. And on Periscope, go ahead and retweet it. We appreciate the support. Thank you, Michael Jones, for that. So what we got here is a lot to talk about, and we're going to break it up with you. The Cat Calls line is 252-228-5098. Let's just go ahead and start with this question for you, Cody. What is on your mind at this point now that the Panthers are, what I would say, in a catastrophic fall? I think sometimes that, look, losing 3 games is not, losing 5 games in a season is not something that is terrible on its own right. But sometimes the way you lose does tell you a little bit of the story. And right now, the Panthers have a long road ahead of them if they want to make anything out of this season. And I don't even know if it's truly possible.
I think that's what we're all wondering at this point. You know, I feel like we were led to believe that this was a real contender for the Super Bowl. I mean, especially after that win over the Ravens and that defense and what we were able to do. Man, we were riding high, man. But since then, things have just come crashing down. And, you know, the season's not over. You know, it does not look good as of right now, as we've lost 3 in a row. But we're 6-5, and it's not impossible for us to get into the playoffs. And while we may not be very confident about how we'll do in the playoffs, this season has not completely gotten away from us yet. But what I will say is, right now, it's how bad does this team want it? Do they want it bad enough to right the ship, get everyone's stuff in order, and just be the embodiment of that keep pounding and make a playoff run and do what even a lot of Panther fans are saying that this team isn't going to be able to do, and that's make a run?
You know, there really hasn't been much to indicate that because the defense has seemed to be so porous, and right now it just doesn't seem to be a lot of answers when it comes to the personnel part. So let's talk about this. As Ron Rivera reacts to the game's loss, and I feel like there was a lot of responsibility in the game following, immediately after the game, placed on the players and giving up big plays. And it is, you want to know the story of this? Problems with big plays over the top. And then you talk about missed opportunities on the offense. But at the same time, you know, there's some real issues that I have when it comes to the roster composition at this point in the season. And I don't think players control that entirely. Well, actually, I know they don't control it at all. So to me, it is not just as simple as, hey, we were there and we missed the kick. I think that these problems, Cody, are more systemic to the organization. And there's a reason we're not winning. There is a true reason we are not winning.
Yeah, there really is a reason that we're not winning. We're letting teams throw the ball all over us, and that is a problem. You know, one of the things that I did want to mention, and I saw, I want to give credit to him, Josh Klein on Twitter. We've had him on the show before. You know, he did make it a point to mention that we signed Ross Cockrell and Denoris Searcy, and both of them are injured and hurt and not on the team anymore. Then Dante Jackson goes down the first play of the game. Then we're depending on Captain Munderland and then Corn Elder putting them on the outside. And yeah, it's bad, but there was an attempt to build more depth in this backfield, but it's just been injured, and we were kind of left with the shambles of what was left over. But man, when you see what they were able to do to us, I mean, our defense had no answer for Seattle going down the stretch. we just needed a stop one time. And every time they had the ball in their hands, they were able to move down the field and at least get 3 points out of it. It was an embarrassing performance. Another incredible game by Cam Newton that was all for nothing, and Christian McCaffrey as well. It's so cliche to say it, but complimentary football is a real thing. And right now, this offense and the defense do not know how to complement each other.
All right. One of the things that Ron Rivera was asked, and let's go ahead and cue up a little Ron Rivera clip for the show from the post game. This is Monday morning. Ron Rivera addressing some of these issues when it comes to how the coaching staff has handled this. And this is the type of Ron Rivera that I have been frustrated with. I believe ever since 2015, and we went to the Super Bowl, Ron Rivera has failed to fall on the sword for anyone. I feel like he has been quick. It's a subtle blame he places, but it is not hey, this is a team loss. This is on the coaches just as much as anything. I'm going to have this fixed. And at the end of the day, it is here. We did our job and these guys didn't. Cody, let's go ahead and cue it up.
And some of your opening comments that maybe you all as a staff need to make some changes.
No, I said we got to take a look at see what we're doing and see if we need to change some things up. Things that we have to get corrected. We can't allow those critical mistakes as coaches. We can't have them as players. And maybe we need to look and rethink some of the things that we have them do. Maybe it's on us.
And that was the second part of the clip was from earlier in the press conference where he did, why are you giving, first of all, Jordan Rodriguez had a tough week. When I say a tough week, the fans have been giving her shit on Twitter. Rivera gave her shit. Ron Rivera gave her shit there. And we might even have a little fun talking about it tonight as well. So, hey, I'm not above. Look, it's all in good fun for me. It's not about being mean. But at the same time, I felt like Ron Rivera was not out of line there. But, yeah, you did say this. What the heck, Ron? Maybe it's maybe you guys are doing some things wrong. Maybe you guys are putting some players in some poor situations. This defense has been atrocious. Cody, how can it be like this?
That is a very good question. And in fact, it's such a good question that I pitched it to you all. And if you follow me on Twitter at Cody Lack, I asked the question of Panther Nation. I said, what is this? Is it Eric Washington? Is he the one to blame for this? Or do we have a situation where our defense is finally just showing how old it is? And shout out to Joe Riolano, who isn't joining us tonight. He said this in the get well, man. He said that he said this in the preseason, that this was a problem that he saw then. And now it just seems like it is a real issue moving forward. And the age on the defense has something that we've been worried about, but I don't know if we thought it would be as big of a problem as it has turned out to be. And of course, it's not showing the results right now, but on the Twitter link, it was 19% on Eric Washington, 21% were too old, and a whopping 60% of you who voted, which was 129 of you, said that it's probably both of them. So it seems as though right now it's a confluence of we're old on all the wrong places of the football field, and Eric Washington just doesn't instill a lot of faith in our fan base, and maybe even with some of the players right now. It makes you wonder if they buy into him as a defensive coordinator.
Jeremy Clancy says Elder was put in a bad position. He played primarily nickel in college. I think not only, look, in fact, this was going to be one of the tops of my ice up picks, was people dumping on Corn Elder. Now, look, don't get me wrong. Corn Elder did not make some important plays. And he was right there to make them a couple of times, and he didn't come up. But at the same time that people are running to throwing him under the bus, this man missed the entire season and preseason and training camp last year, his rookie year, on IR. He then has no meaningful playing time in the NFL until yesterday. That was until Sunday, the first time he has seen any action outside of special teams, maybe than just a couple of snaps that we would have to hunt down like crazy to find. And then he's the reason we lost. I am telling you that is diffusing. That's placing blame in the worst possible places, right? It just is, and that's fine that Corn, like Will Lassiter says, that was just not ready, but that's on the staff. And on top of that, this whole conundrum that we have been trotting out four corners. How about this? Let's talk about how James Bradberry, at moments, we thought he was going to be good. And then he continues to be awful at times, right? Let's talk about that other than Corn Elder, right? So to me, that's the thing that we got there. And I think at the same time, what we need, Cody, is that we need a coach who is saying, look, we play with the players we got, and we got to put them in places to succeed. I don't like this attitude. In fact, I think it was Eric Washington, and I am a Eric Washington defender. I think he's a great speaker. Let's just put it that way. I believe he is a great speaker. He exudes confidence. He has a kind of machismo to him that I like. And what he said here was, we didn't change our scheme at all because of the personnel. And I just think he said next man up. And I think that is absurd. That's like saying that Curtis Samuel should just do the same things that Kelvin Benjamin did.
Yeah, and there's so much confusion. I honestly feel like our coaching staff right now, they're just kind of flying by the seat of their pants. And even with Ron Rivera, it's never felt that way before. There's just something different about this season. Players out of place. It really does feel like, whoever our defensive backs coach is, we keep on forgetting to bring him up. But, and I know it was a last minute thing. But, I've been playing this James Bradberry clip. And, really, it's easy to see that, there's these missed assignments. 1 minute, Bradberry's making a play, and then the next minute, he's like, oh, where are my ankles? Oh, I don't know where they are. Oh, and I'm down. This continues to happen even with some of the best players on our team. It doesn't seem like they're doing their due diligence on making sure that their fundamentals are sound. And I don't know what it is. And I think that's the most frustrating part. When you see the more talented people on our team being affected by what it seems to us is coaching that isn't getting the job done. And it's just super frustrating.
A lot of good chat going on in the chat room. Brother Herbert here. I hope you're feeling better, Brother Herbert. He was struggling after the post game, and he said that, look, have I ever said anything good about James Bradberry? And that, my friend, if there's anything about Brother Herbert, he's an honest man. And he has certainly never said that James Bradberry was good. And I think that that's also the point, is that and what I think Brother Herbert's saying here, and that's important to remember, is that the idea that you hedge James Bradberry at this point being the guy is just unwise at this point. You know what? Is James Bradbury might be the guy who should be stepping in when Dante Jackson gets hurt. Like a player of that caliber. He should be the number 2 guy on the team. And it should have been him fighting for a number 2 spot, not just owning a number 1 spot. Ton of great comments in the chat room. We appreciate it. Thank you for your support on Facebook. The number's 252-228-5098. We even got people donating to the show, which is crazy. We really appreciate that. But I think we also got a special guest appearance to bring onto the podcast, a man who we know from the Cat Calls line, a man who has decided that he wants to be a larger part of this therapy session. Nova Black is going to join the C3 podcast using Shindig. We appreciate it. Nova Black, what is up, my friend?
Hey, guys, can you hear me?
Yes,
sir,
we can.
loud and clear.
All right, I'm new to this Shindig thing, but yeah, glad to be here.
That's all right, man. That's all right. Yeah, listen, I just want to give a shout out to everyone real quick that this is why Tony and I have been using Shindig. We want all of you to have an appearance on here and talk with us about the Carolina Panthers. Nova, we're happy to have you on, my brother.
Thank you. Glad to be here, man, and be a part of this and help you guys get the word out so everybody can get the liking and sharing. Because I've been following you guys for a couple seasons now, and I really like what y'all do and what y'all bring in the Panther Nation, especially diehard fans like myself and film junkies and people who want to hear thoughts of others out here. Yeah, this is good for us.
Word up. Tell us what is on your mind in the wake of this heartbreaking loss. What to you, Nova, is most important at this moment? Is it fighting for an opportunity to make the playoffs? Is it looking ahead to potentially replacing the coaching staff? Where are you at?
Right now, as far as the coaching staff, I'm giving these guys to the end of the year. I've noticed that over the last several seasons, these guys they play for Coach Rivera late in the season, but with 3 devastating losses and Coach Washington being in his first year as a defensive coordinator, he's making it hard for us out there with play calling, and then not just the coaching but the players too. You got to look at Bradbury. I'm gonna say, I think that we should keep looking forward and fighting for the playoffs, but at the same time, our GM needs to be our GM or owner, whoever decide that's in charge of that stuff. They need to start scouting and let Coach Rivera and everybody know, hey, listen, that seat can get hot. Don't get comfortable.
It definitely does feel as though there is that there's not a sense of urgency that there should be. And, you really have to think, we have a brand new owner and, and I have a clip that we can play either now or later. But, man, imagine how coveted a new head coaching position for the Carolina Panthers would be. I mean, you would have people, that would be one of the most highly sought after coaching positions in all of football. And, you have to think that.
Imagine that Bill Belichick and Kyle Shanahan with that team.
Yeah, man. Or just someone who has an idea of, in the modern NFL, Tony and I, we talk about this a lot. The NFL is all about points now. It's who can put up the most points. They're throwing the football all over the field. We have one of the most dynamic quarterbacks to ever play the game of football. And he's due for another contract in another year or two. So, they're going to have to pay Cam Newton soon. You need to put him with what I believe is a good offensive mind that can help you get the most out of this offense, and at the same time put the right coaching staff in place to bolster our defense to be dominant like it has been for so many years here in Carolina.
Right. And I completely agree.
I think Nova brings up a good point is just dropping the name Kyle Shanahan and seeing what he was able to do with how explosive that Atlanta offense was, how able he was able to use Jimmy Garoppolo when he was there, that a guy like that with these tools, you're thinking that, you're really starting to get excited about. Now, at the same time, what I think is that while people have been calling on us to recognize Rivera's history with the team and to caution this, is that you got to there's two questions that linger for me. And that is, have we piecemealed the general manager and the head coach and the owner too much? Is there really truly a lack of continuity because they're all just been forced together? It's like a family reunion. You get stuck at the table with people that you kind of know.
Or shepherd's pie.
Yes, you're forcing it. You're forcing it. Exactly. Now, then the window, is there any worry that the window's closing? And Cody, when you come back, go ahead and let's cue up that clip that you're talking about. Nova, you got to go?
Yeah.
All right. Nova, hit us up with one last comment for everybody in the midst of 3 consecutive losses.
Again, I'd rather hope everybody, keep pounding, man. I think we can get this thing back together. I really do. I do think that we should start looking to change the regime, because this team is too talented to waste away. Cam Newton, as great of a player as he is, deserves a Super Bowl, and we need to. And as long as he carried that team, I feel like we need to start giving him not just the tools, but the coaching as well to go along with it. As far as that defense goes, I'm not sure, man. I'm not going to give up on it. I think we got the talent as far as players go, and as far as coaching goes. I'm not sure that Washington's going to get it this year or next year, and I don't want to take a chance to find out. So y'all know I'm going the same way when we were screaming fire Shula, fire Washington, get them out.
I hear you.
Get them out.
Other than that, everybody keep pounding. And I appreciate you guys bringing me on, and I look forward to listening to the podcast that I download from iTunes every Tuesday or Wednesday morning.
Yeah, man, fantastic. Nova Black, first appearance on the C3 podcast, has been in the Cat Calls before, or a regular in the Cat Calls. The number is 252-228-5098. 89J Stubbs coming in strong with a contribution to the show using the super chat. We really appreciate that. We just thank you guys for your support. That's what we really, truly thank everybody for just coming together on Tuesday nights and helping us form this community together. Because we're going to do this whether we're winning or we're losing. We will get through this. Cody, let's go ahead and cue up that clip about maybe it's not. And this is where, and before you cue it up, let me just say this is where, I have been cautious. I have been hesitant to adopt this mantra, this idea that you need to go offensive head coach, that you need to have a philosophical change organization, particularly as we saw this offense look so much more dynamic. But what has continued to bother me here in the midst of this, and where I'm being and another reason I was cautious about it is I thought it was, I was just worried that it's a little too much like this is what everybody else is doing. Look at the Bears, look at the Chiefs. Hey, we'll do what they do and it's going to happen. Right. And I don't think it is that simple, truly. But at the same time, maybe the NFL is changing to a certain degree. We talked about this little on, the post-game show. Cody, you brought it up, but is the window potentially closing, or not closing, but are we seeing this? Is that, and my concern as I continue to see Ron Rivera address this is like, hey, we're just going to keep doing the same things. We're going to run the football. We're going to play defense, and that wins. It doesn't matter who we play. It doesn't matter if we play the same. That formula wins. And it really, if that is the mantra, the philosophy of this, I don't even know how valuable the head coach truly is in organizing everything then. I mean, then just hire good good coordinators and say, hey, we're going to do this every week. So that is my concern, is that could the window of opportunity slip away from us without us realizing it? And I think Nova touched on that about Eric Washington. Is I don't know if I want to find out.
Yeah, and okay, so look, let's play this clip real quick, because he does hit on a lot of the points, and then I'll kind of go off of what you said and take it from there. But here is Nick Wilson.
I think that when you have Cam Newton, who is right there in the age range, right in his beginning of the 30s there, where he's coming up on another contract, where you've got a team that has a window with players like DJ Moore, Christian McCaffrey, and Curtis Samuel, it is now or never for the Panthers and Ron Rivera. And what I mean by that is, I'm not going to be a proponent on air, at least not right now, about moving on from Ron Rivera. I can't be. Ron Rivera has done too much in this town to right now come out and say this is what should happen. I have strong feelings of the way the last 3 games have gone. The way this team has approached this year is troublesome to me. But Ron Rivera deserves a lot of benefit of the doubt. That being said, heading into this offseason, the Carolina Panthers would be 1A or 1B on just about any coach's list. If a young, hot assistant coach or a guy like Matt Campbell at Iowa State, they would be 1A or 1B, depending on who else gets fired, in terms of being able to lure the next great offensive coach, the next Matt Nagy, the next Sean McVay. So if they're going to do it, a year from now doesn't make any damn sense. Cam Newton a year away from free agency, going into year 31, doesn't really make sense. With a defense that is 1 year under rebuild, and you're going to have to go ahead and retool with a new defensive staff because of that, doesn't make sense. Right now, knowing that a lot of the guys that have made your defense what it is are about to walk on, about to go on to the great beyond after football, this is the time. If you're going to do it, and if this does go the way of the dodo, if this season turns out as poorly as it feels like it's going to do now is the time you do the due diligence. Because what is a better job right now than the Carolina Panthers?
Yeah, I mean, I feel he really hit the nail on the head. And I feel that one of the things that he really hit the nail on the head was when Cam Newton and the contract. You're going to have to pay Cam Newton soon. And, kind of with what you said, if we're just going to do the same things over and over, well, then we're just paying Cam Newton to have a good year, and then the team will have an off year, and then we'll have a good year, and the team will have an off year. Like, not only are we wasting his career, but we're even wasting the contracts of the people that we're playing. And this is why I feel you and I have been talking about Ron Rivera, saying that Ron Rivera is not an elite head coach, but at the same time, he's not Hugh Jackson. He's not a dumpster fire. We have had a lot of success under Ron Rivera. He brought us to a Super Bowl, 15-1. He had one of the best defenses in 2013. I mean, the man has done some good things here. But at a certain point in time, you're just pushing things along farther and farther down the road, and you're wasting people's time and career and money. And I know that we've mentioned David Tepper, and he really plays in a lot of this. And they're going to find out very soon what kind of owner we have if Ron Rivera continues to let this team flounder in mediocrity. Now, one of the things that you were saying is, if you do like the Rams and the Bears and bring in an offensive-minded head coach, I feel like sometimes the fear is it'll be all offense and just kind of whatever on defense. But let me tell you, man, right now, I feel the Bears have the best defense in the NFL. And they just hired an offensive-minded head coach. That defensive coordinator position is very important. And it's all about who you put in the right places. But the question is that going to be Marty Hurney? Or does David Tepper want other want someone else to start to fill those positions on the football team.
I'm starting to get like, I'm just getting, I just feel like we know what we've got. I think that Lee Trotter says it nicely in the YouTube chat. He says Rivera's a little bit better version than John Fox. And, you know, look, I have been a fan of what Marty Hurney has done since his return. Okay. But at no point did I truly believe that that was the long-term solution to what this organization needed. I just had to deal with Jerry Richardson hooking up his buddy, right? And I wanted to point out that Hurney wasn't as awful as people made him out to be. And really the personnel moves that he made haven't been illegitimate or poorly done at this point. And they it looks to be all right at this moment. But I don't think that there is the long-term cohesive vision that's going to gel well. I think we saw Marty Hurney and John Fox. So now we're going to see Marty Hurney and Ron Rivera. It's I just have gotten to the point where I think we know what we've gotten from them. And I continue to go back and say this is I don't know if I ever felt like Ron Rivera at this point has been the reason we've won. Like he's had Cam Newton, of course. He's had Cam Newton as some elite defensive players. And that's what that's what they've made Cam Newton do is like you do the best you can. We're going to lock teams down on defense, but now we're not even doing that. And it doesn't look like it's something that can be remedied in the immediate moment. But I do think you can pair a nice aggressive mind with a good, solid, old hat defensive coordinator, maybe a guy kind of like a Rivera in a sense, like look at Wade Phillips under Sean McVay, young head coach, offensively thoughtful, and he says this, I'm going to get an old hat that knows how to deal with the defense. That's your ball game. And I think that is something that maybe in this NFL that Ron Rivera even mentioned, that it was harder and harder on defenses. And maybe at this moment with these offensive weapons, it's time to think about when do you do it? When do you rip the Band-Aid off? When do you go ahead and just break up with your girlfriend you've just been off and on? When's the moment? And I got to start to think that you want to act quickly in a very targeted manner to target a GM who has a vision of what he could do with with the right coach, and then immediately make a difference to what the Rams went from with Jeff Fisher to the Rams, or what the Bears went from with John Fox to Nagy. I want to, James Woodley brought up that he really appreciated what Stephen A. Smith earlier said about the Carolina Panthers and their problem was. And I'm going to give, I've tracked the clip down. Let's see what Stephen A. Smith has. We'll react to that and then we'll get into these catcalls.
And they surmise that he's the best in the world at the moment. And I'm not going to disagree with him.
So do we ignore the fact that he gets a screen set for him on basically every other play?
Well, we do ignore that when he's the one that dictates what screen.
That was on Kevin Durant. I'm going to track it down. We'll get it in the next show and we'll figure it out. Well, I want to honor that request there at some point. Cody, let's just go ahead and jump into the cat calls and then we'll see where the show goes. All right.
Okay. I did want to bring up one last thing before we do that. The Panthers win by year from 2012 to 17. We went from, and so this is in order, starting from 2012, it was 13-14. 2012, 7 wins. 2013, 12 wins. 2014, 7.5 wins. Which was, that was we had a tie that year with the Bengals. 2015, we had 15 wins. Then down to 6 in 2016, 11 wins in 2017. Now, let me tell everyone listening right now, if we are, after starting as hot as we did, if we do not have a winning season this year, I mean, it isn't even hard. It's 100% coaching at that point in time. A lot of the players, I mean, there's turnaround every year, but a lot of the players on defense are the same. You still have Thomas Davis and Luke. You have K1 Short. You have had a lot of the same players the majority of that amount of time. That level of inconsistency is nothing but coaching staff. So I'm at the point right now, if we lose out, or not even lose out, but if we don't have a winning record at the end of the season, I'm putting money on it. I think there's no way that Tepper doesn't look to make some kind of change. That's all
I'm just at the point where is that this is just going to be more of this, and you're just hoping that one year you're going to have enough that it's not this, that it's better than this. So let's jump into these cat calls. Let's try to figure it out with you guys. The number's 252-228-5098. We appreciate you being a part of the show. 47 people watching on YouTube right now. We had record numbers on the post-game show. We appreciate that, guys. Go ahead and twist the phone to portrait mode. Here, actually, he said this. Is I queued it up at 24:43. Hold on. Let's see. I might get this in. 25:43. Let's see if this is it. And hopefully we can get it.
Consideration, no doubt. Let's go to James. You're live with Stephen A. ESPN Radio, ESPN News. What's up, James?
Hey, what's going on, Steve?
Talk to me, man.
I just got a plain, simple question. Yeah. What is going on with the Carolina Panthers?
Is this James in the chat room?
Interesting. It's tough because until about 3 weeks ago, I thought this was a team that was going to be in a position to compete, for the NFC crown. Now we're wondering whether or not they're going to even make the playoffs. It is absolutely positively stunning what has happened to them. And I didn't see it coming. I ain't going to lie to you. I didn't see it coming. They're 6-5 right now. And we look at them and they're clearly, we thought that the two games that they were going to play against New Orleans, I'm going to talk to Ryan Clark about that, but we thought the two games they were going to play against New Orleans, man, we thought, hey, look, listen, we got to pay attention to this. But I think when they got annihilated by the Steelers on Thursday night, 52-21, I think the wheels came off then. They lost to Detroit 20-19, 2-point conversion that won a foul. You look at what they blew. You got a Gano missing extra points, missing the field goal. They could have easily won the last two games that they lost. But the reality is that I think that, Christian McCaffrey, you're relying so much on him. What else do you have? Where's Funches? And where's Cam? The reality is that when you look at Cam right now, he's throwing for 2,700 yards, and we get all of that. I just expected more from him.
Where's Cam?
You know what I'm saying? I really did, and I don't see it right now from Cam Newton. The defense, to me, has responded with the exception of their game against Pittsburgh, no doubt. But I just look at them offensively, and I think that, listen, Christian McCaffrey can ball. I like him. All right. Their defense is ranked 20th. Their offense is ranked 10th, but they've got like the 21st ranked passing attack. Once again, this is Cam Newton's team. You're the quarterback. He runs the football effectively. He's completing nearly 70% of his passes, which that's never happened before. But I still am looking for some game-changing situations that I don't see happening with Carolina over the last 3 weeks. I don't know. And not only that,
all right, so let's stop the clip there. This is why people listen to the T3 podcast.
That's what I was about to say, man.
Because that's what happens when you glance at the highlights, right? Is that I think that, maybe that Pittsburgh game, there could be something to that. But the defense has been atrocious. Don't act like it has responded. And Cam Newton has been dealing, right? Is that he had an 85% completion rate. They just want to check the stat sheet and see 4 touchdowns. That's what they want to see. Well, check it before we went on this 3-game losing streak, and you'd see he'd have 4 touchdowns, 2 running too. So the idea here that, is that I don't know what's going on, but I do know this is that is not Cam Newton. And it certainly is Christian McCaffrey has been sensational this year. But right now we're in a place where we can't put it together. And if anything, we can't put together a kick and a defensive stop because we can sure put up 30 points a damn week, I feel like.
Tony, let me ask you this, man. Why do you think it is that it's only the Panther fans that are calling out the coaches? Like, there is not one place that I have seen anyone in the media, be it online media or television, on ESPN, Fox Sports, whatever, I never hear anyone mention the name Ron Rivera. And I almost feel as if he has this, like, voodoo hologram cast over everyone into thinking that, oh, Ron Rivera is a really good coach. He's a very good coach. He's one of the best coaches. But, oh, well, it's Cam Newton. Cam's kind of a diva. Or, oh, it's, this or that. It's mainly people levying criticism on Cam Newton. But why is it that it's only people like us that have the wherewithal to say, hello, we haven't had back-to-back winning seasons with a talent like Cam Newton. It's a coaching thing.
I'll tell you the reason why. And the simple reason why is we watch the games 2 and 3 times.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what we do. We watch them that closely. And not to say that we know what we're talking about that much, but like, I can't really make any strong comments on why the Lakers are doing what they are, because I've seen like 45 seconds of the Lakers, and checking the LeBron James box score isn't enough to know what's going on with the team. And, but it's a good soundbite. Cam always stirs people up. I think James got on a national radio show. I think that's a cool thing. All right, let's jump into these. Let's jump into these catcalls.
What are your thoughts on catcall? Yeah, you shouldn't do that to somebody. And how did that make you feel?
Very uncomfortable.
So how do you think catcalling makes the person feel?
It feels good, like a 3 and a 4 and a. Who's that cat sitting in the back corner with his face buried in the snow? Who's that kid that can use one?
Hello, gentlemen. It is Thanksgiving Day. I'm driving to pick up my son after he's played some tennis. I'm grateful to be having my family together for dinner today. And I was thinking about things I'm thankful for as I listened to your podcast. I just want to say I'm thankful for you guys.
Aww.
All of you. And you do this every week. You built a community. You sacrifice family time, and other time you could be doing other things. God knows it runs long enough, right? Like a 3 freaking hour podcast. Seriously, you guys give up things. You make sacrifices for this. You run it every week, and we appreciate it. I'm thankful for you.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah, it was a tremendous call. First of all, on days, and I want to thank you personally for that call, because I don't want the accolades, and that the nice comments are wonderful. But I think what's gorgeous about that call right there is that we realize that there's sometimes people who are working hard in life and doing things that people truly appreciate, just don't know it a lot of times. And so my request to you after that blessing that we had there, and I knew I heard that call, and I was like, I am not playing this on the post game show. I am not playing this on the post game show. So I saved it for this week because of that, for this show. And I said, and I want to recommend that everybody take a moment in your life, sometime in the next week or two, to reach out to somebody who does something meaningful in your community, in your life, and just say, look, thanks. We appreciate it. That's it. People, because it really does help, people know that, very simply, that they're appreciated. And we're thankful for you. We're thankful for this opportunity, as fans, to talk about what we would be talking about anyway. Right. So let's do it together and have a good time. Cody, that got to make you feel good.
Oh man, listen. First of all, I want to say I'm thankful for Tony Dunn for letting me come on this show, man. I look forward to Tuesday and Sundays, not just for Panther football, but for coming and chilling with you, brother. And listen, man, to everyone in the YouTube chat and to everyone that downloads and listens, I'll have people at me on Twitter that I never see their name in the YouTube chat, but people that I've never ever heard of before or seen before, they're wanting my opinion on something related to Panthers football. I feel like I've made great friends associated with this podcast. Of course, you, Joey, and Mel, and everyone in the YouTube chat. Lynn, Underground West, 10 Tizzy, J-Dub. The list goes on and on. We love you all. We love that you listen to the C3 podcast every Tuesday night. And as long as there's Panthers football, you know we're going to be here, baby. Let's keep it rolling.
That's the truth. I keep saying this: is football is the best part about football for me is that it has kept me and Joey buddies for a long time where distance could have been a problem. So it's a common thing. It's a common interest that people can share their emotions and their experiences with. And we hope you had a blessed Thanksgiving, and we're going to get back on track as a team. I know. I hope for it.
Hey guys, Cody from Roanoke, Virginia again. What I was talking about the offense is the kind of the flip flop of what we've seen. We've seen the inconsistent offense that can put up numbers, sure, but it wasn't like every drive they were able to go down and drive into the red zone. But every drive they made that got to the red zone was a touchdown, essentially, except for select, very rare field goal. And this game was quite the opposite. Every drive we had was pushing us closer to, getting us into the red zone. And then we just couldn't kind of push that in. This should have been a blowout. This should have been a blowout. And credit to Seattle's defense for being able to kind of do that. What we did last year, which was been not great. Our defense wasn't good from a numbers standpoint, but when we got to the red zone, we were one of the best in the NFL last year. And this year that has changed. I think we're starting to see what having this, Eric Washington as a defensive coordinator has done. I think he comes in, he's got a game plan. I think Ron can help him with that game plan. And I think that's what happened is Ron helped him with the game plan to start out. And that's why in the first half, we did a phenomenal job on defense. We didn't create turnovers, but we created pressure. We created a sack. We created, a lot of these different, scenarios where Seattle wasn't able to really do much except for maybe a field goal and a couple of 3 and outs and whatnot. But then, you kind of turn over to what we have going on over here. The second half, you see that he's not able to make the adjustments. You see Seattle adjusted to what we had as our game plan.
Yeah.
And where you would see other experienced defensive coordinators make their adjustments based on that as any good chess match, we didn't see that. And unfortunately, Eric Washington felt like it was just – and Ron can't help those mid-game without taking over the play calling, right? And so we find ourselves in a tough situation with him. I don't know if he gets better, but I'm hoping he is. I don't want to wait till next year. I think we realize where our weakness is up front. I think KK, if he had people that didn't force him to be thrown in double teams, whatnot. I mean, honestly, he insisted on the team in March, but that happened usually as for his contract also. I might lose you guys too.
All right. So, interesting point is that this has been multiple times already that it's a good way of putting it is that we don't know if we want to wait and find out if he gets it. And sometimes, and look, is every career cannot be one that just ascends to the top. Just because Eric Washington has struggled under with these defensive players doesn't mean he doesn't have the potential to be a head coach in the future. But maybe this is a time where it's not the right moment for him. And it's showing. I think that somebody else pointed this out in the chat room earlier, and it's just hard to refute. Is even Luke looked off? Like, I mean, is that there isn't anybody? And then I think the next point was to KK Short. So we're going to continue with these calls. I bet you he's going to pop back in here, and we'll come back to Eric Washington. I'm sure plenty on in.
Hey guys, sorry, I didn't mean to draw this into 3 calls. I just lost signal there, and I apologize. Cody here in Roanoke, Virginia. I was talking about Eric Washington. I'm hoping we haven't seen his ceiling, but I think now, I'm hoping next year he's able to go back and he's starting to really realize what's happening. I don't think he's fired after one season. I mean, you never know with David Tepper, but I don't see that David Tepper making that big of a move. I think he's got so many other things on his mind. With the practice facility and everything, I think his main focus is on that and, kind of rebuild his team right now when we had been successful. in years past, is not a smart move to make. And in my opinion, if it even is, I don't know. But anyway, I think what we saw with their offense with the inconsistency, I thought that was unfortunate. But what I also think that we saw was what our team is without Devin Funchess. And honestly, I think that put the nail in the coffin for him for the offseason. I think he'll be back this season, sure. But I think his only saving grace for being back on the Panthers next year is going to be his red zone. Having a big body, and I think we saw that. I think the red zone. I mean, I know he hasn't been crazy good in the red zone, but I think he draws attention. And with being a big body receiver and everything. So I'm hoping, fingers crossed. We kind of find out what this. I feel like we're one missing piece away. I feel like it's just we're clicking in certain areas, but not others, and then the next week it's the opposite, and our defense is not clicked at all. I'm thankful for Eric Reed. I think he's been the only shining star on this defense. Making tackles when he could easily not be blamed for missing some of those. Corn Elder. Oh my gosh, get Corn, Captain Munderland out of there. I really beg of you. We need somebody else. Let's cut this off. I've drawn this on way too long. Appreciate all you guys do. We listen Tuesday night. Keep down.
All right. So thank you for that call, Cody. And I don't know where the first of that 3-part call is. But if we run across it, it might be later in the show. Who knows? Because sometimes I just have trouble keeping up with the order. Now, I do think, though, I'm going to go the other way. And I think this is enough to say, like, it might just be time to bring my guy a change of scenery. Change of scenery for the GM and down. Right now, you're worried about this, is that Ron, was he going to fire Washington after the season, put in a new defensive coordinator, and all of a sudden everything is great? Maybe. I actually really like what Norv has done with this offense. But I do think at some point, like, hey, is that when are you going to how long, if Tepper is considering a change at some point in the future, what would that be next year? Would it be would an 8-8 season? Would we be here again? Would it be a 10-6? What would it take? In many ways, I felt like Ron Rivera and every coach who has yet to just fully ingratiate themselves with the owner, and by solidifying themselves with maybe even a Super Bowl, is every year coaching for a job, except for Marvin Lewis, who is always going to have his job. But then let's turn to Devin Funchess. I think this was a great point. Boy, did we not miss Devin Funchess one bit. And, Joey's out right now with a Devin Funchess injury, actually. But I think Joey's is real. I wonder if Funchess' injury is truly real. And if I wonder that, Cody, isn't it a little crazy to say how this coaching staff handles guys who have really awful games? And what that really says about the confidence they have in their players. Think about Ben Wickery being a patsy after the Atlanta game in 2016. Corn Elder not stepping up and making the plays that he has to make, even though it's an awful spot. And now Devin Funchess, who had a bad game, now has a bad back. Where is this coming from? And we didn't look one bit less of a threat without him.
No, and I forget. I want to say maybe it was a cat call or something like that, and it was alluding to the fact that the coaches, they used to, especially Ron Rivera, there used to be press conferences he would do where he would hold himself accountable. He would say that we as coaches need to be better, but it seems now like there's always a fall guy. It's always someone didn't do this right, and someone, missed opportunities. Well, I think those missed opportunities are on you, Ron. And I think that we're all kind of seeing that now. But, and one, I want to take a minute to say Cody has become a great caller. He's a consistent caller, calls in all the time. Shout out to Cody. But I think that he kind of hits the nail on the head. And again, I don't know if this is going to be very popular. I do want to see what Eric Washington might be able to do with a younger defensive line maybe add another explosive pass rusher to this defensive line, maybe another faster cornerback to put back there and add to that rotation, maybe another safety to throw in that mix. I mean, I don't know that with that many different moving parts, with a brand new defensive backs coach, with a brand new linebacker coach, a brand new defensive line coach, and then having to get these players all on the same page, it's like I feel as though maybe Eric Washington is having to do something here in Carolina that McDermott and Steve Wilkes didn't have to do. That they had more of a continuity going forward with this defense that Eric Washington maybe doesn't. And I understand that there are not a lot of real fans of Eric Washington right now. Everyone's calling for his head. What I would say is that if we're going to have a brand new head coach, it might not be the best idea to clear out the entire team, or the entire team of coaches, rather. Maybe it is worth it to let Eric Washington maybe have one more go at it, give him some younger players, inject some youth onto this football team, and maybe see what he's able to do with that, and an offensive-minded head coach to go along with that.
I just don't believe there's gonna be an opportunity for it to happen. I think this is and this is a good point right here. Is Jedidor says, imagine if we had Aaron Donald, and this goes to a point that Cody made in the call at the end of the first call that was starting to break up, and that is Short has not been the dominant player that we have been accustomed to seeing him play. You know, I mean, is that prior to this season, I said that Short was in the conversation of a Fletcher Cox, of a Geno Atkinson type player, and he hasn't had the success there. Now you could say, look, is that it turns out that Poe has been a bust. We've gotten old around him, and those guys haven't done enough. But then I look too, and that, I mean, you almost say that with Trey Turner sometimes, is that like he's missed some plays as well. And it's not like, but our offensive line has been good. The question is, has he lived up to the contract? And it's really hard. You continue to hear this. You hear Cam talk about it. You hear the coaches talk about it. There's, 11 men on the field. And it's really hard for us to tell, is Eric Washington calling poor coverages? Does he not have the talent to do it? But at the end of the day, it's just not getting done. Right. And this is that we're not accustomed. And I just don't feel like this should be the case. If you have a defensive head coach, is that this is on Ron Rivera. Then if you had to bring in all new assistants, then you hit a young assistant in the process, and you've maybe put them in a poor position, and that's not good on your end. And I continue to think this is that bringing Norv was an excellent addition, but man, Ron has really fallen short on having the defense shored up. And so that's problematic. And I am to the point here is that I don't know if I think you're going to have to win 4 out of the last 5 games to consider this, to really make this a hard decision for Tepper. I think if you finish this season with 8-8, all of a sudden this gets to be an easy decision that it's, you know what? Thank you for what you've done. Thank you, Marty Herney, for getting us through this troublesome time. But it's time to bring in a different approach and some new blood. The number's 252-228-5098.
What's going on, C3? I haven't called because there's been nothing called up, except for negative disappointment. Unfortunately, as Panther fans, I'm sure a good portion of us are looking towards the draft already and what we're going to do about coaching at the end of the season, because I don't think there's a chance in hell that we make the playoffs at this point. Seattle has our first place, has our wild card spot. And
the tiebreaker too.
Is probably a better coach team, and Seattle's probably a better coach team at this point. Yeah, I see the writing kind of on the wall, dude. We've lost 3 in a row. Cam Newton, Chris McCaffrey. Our offense is getting better, looks like, with new pieces, but we're not going anywhere this year. And to be honest, there's no point in going to the playoffs if we're just going to get bounced out of the playoffs anyways. So my thing is, if we let go of the whole coaching staff, do we let go of Marty Herney too? Or has Marty done enough to keep his job for the next regime? And if we do fire our coaches, does Norv Turner go with Ron Rivera? Do we try to keep Norv Turner there to continue this trend with him? I don't know you guys' thoughts. Maybe what we're going to need in the draft. Maybe we need defensive line. Maybe we need to work out a little bit more in the secondary. Maybe we need to add one more offensive piece. Just curious to see what you guys' thoughts moving forward. I love the show.
I appreciate the call. I think if there is a coaching change, I think it's all or nothing. And I think it's GM, coach, and everything or nothing. I think you either say, hey, Marty Herney and Rivera is Marty Herney's guy. We'll keep these two, and you get this defense sorted out, and Norv Turner showed enough improvement on the offense, and we'll keep you all. Or you just say, there's no piecemealing a coaching staff together. I think we saw the problem with that a little bit when it came to Gettleman and Rivera, kind of the odd pairing that, just enough success to make everybody just like each other enough. Now, Cody, you're the draft guy. I'm going to let you tackle this, but I got to say this is that while the easy answer seems to be another secondary piece, we're going to need a safety at some point. And the pass rush is non-existent. You also have Ryan Khalil on the horizon. This it looks like it might be his last season, to be honest. And on top of that, Matt Khalil is so trash that they haven't even welcomed him back to the league, to the room. And Chris Clark cannot be considered. You can't go another year with him. You got to just really thank him and give him a bonus for his service. There's a lot of things that need to be done on this roster between this year and next year.
Yeah, and I think that was part of the reason why we signed Tyler Larson when we did. Maybe in case we didn't get another piece in the draft. But yeah, there's a lot of players that we should be keeping an eye on. I mean, I watch a lot of college football. I already have a bunch of names in mind that I would love to see on the team. So, all right.
What positions do you believe are are going to be central going forward at the end of this season?
So for the Panthers specifically, I think it's going to be defensive line. Because if Dontari Poe is not the answer, which I think we all know that he isn't, then we're going to need someone to fill that one technique position. Now, listen, if any of you know me or follow me on Twitter, you already know I'm a Clemson fan. But I'm also a Panthers fan. And there is one guy on defense, and again, I haven't gotten to the point where I'm pinpointing exactly what player position would be the perfect match for the Panthers. But there is a guy named Dexter Lawrence out of Clemson, 6'5", 340 pounds, super athletic. I mean, the guy's just a beast, man. You could put him right next to Kawan Short, and our defensive line is instantly better. Now, what I will say, though, is, we might need to upgrade the defensive end position even more than that defensive tackle position next to Kawan. I mean, you have an aging Julius Peppers. You have Mario Addison. There is no more Julius Peppers. And listen, I sympathize with Nirvash in the chat. He says, another DT. And listen, I understand that, man. But that's what happens when you don't hit on the ones you draft. Vernon Butler has been, he's been a non-factor. A bust, an absolute bust. Then you sign Dontari Poe, and Dontari Poe is not what we wanted him to be. Star Lotulelei was a first-round draft pick, and we felt it necessary to let him go in order to sign Kawan Short and a few other players. So, but yeah, there's a lot of different needs on the team right now. I still am of the mindset that you bolster your team on the offense and the defensive line. You build the trenches. I want some mean mofos on both sides of the football to dominate the line of scrimmage. And you have to do that right in the trenches. So as of this moment, I haven't gotten my draft hat on 100% yet. I will in time, but right now I'm definitely wanting to say that we need a lineman on one or both sides of the football.
I'm thinking that we should just take 2 offensive linemen, first and second round. I'd be fine with that. On top of that, I want to point out this is that we better not, if we draft a defensive tackle, we better have a new GM, because there's one position that Marty Herney can't hit, and that is that defensive tackle. Most of the guys that hit KK Short as well as Starr, well, Starr fell into Gettleman's lap. KK was a sensational pick. That's Gettleman stuff right there. All right, 252-228-5098. Jeremy Mayhew, thanks for tuning in on Facebook. I think I just missed your shout out right before you left.
What's up, C3? Jeremy Classic calling in from Great Old Newport, North Carolina. Just a comment on yesterday. Basically a really good game between two teams fighting for playoff position, and we came out on the short end of it. Our lack of depth in the cornerback position got exposed. I didn't like the move putting Cornelder on the outside. I thought, if anything, put him in the nickel where he has some experience from college and let Captain struggle on the outside. Either way, we're fucked. So, the D line, well, it showed some improvement, but all I got to say is this 2 pose don't make a star. Because I think we're missing our big guy in the middle hogging up the block. Anyway, just my 2 cents. Hope everything's doing well. Like always, going to keep on pounding.
Yeah, I'm going to admit this is that I was 100% wrong on Don Terry Poe versus Star Latuda. I underappreciated Star probably the whole time he was here because I was hoping that he could be even more than just a run stopper as well as a block eater. But I tell you this, Poe has been a tremendous disappointment at the very most. And it's hard to gauge if it's all him or not him, but I don't even care, is that he hasn't been impressive. At the very worst, the very best, he hasn't been impressive. So that didn't work out. And, maybe we're a little overwhelmed by the name and those old combine figures from 2012. But yeah, just a miss there. And, but at the same time, we have a lot of attrition when it's come on this team, but every team goes through injury. And we didn't have the roster prepared. And this is probably what's disappointing to me about the criticism for Corn Elder, Cody, is that Dante Jackson suffered a minor injury the week before. And then on top of that, you have counted on Dante Jackson so much this season. This was a disaster if any one of those guys went down, period, waiting to happen. And I'm just surprised that we didn't have anybody on the roster that was a little bit more suited for that position. You almost wonder, hey, could Galden have played a corner better? But I mean, I don't know. Is that you went into that game without the guys in the right spots, and we continue to start to look at how has the personnel management. And this, to me, comes to Ron. I don't think this is only on the GM, Cody. I believe that this is Ron Rivera knowing his team a little bit. And Ron Rivera has not been, especially that has not been a strength of his, is assessing the talent on his team and knowing when to pull the trigger and when not to pull the trigger. And we've seen it from C.J. Anderson to guys like DJ Moore sitting on the bench. This is a lot of Ron Rivera, and boy, was he talking up Torrey Smith so much. Torrey Smith gave us 15 good snaps.
Yeah. And again, we've mentioned this before. We think that, when it comes to Torrey Smith or, other players, Amini Silatolu, I mean, there have been times that he will leave players out there and let them continue to be a detriment to the football team. Listen, we all love Jonathan Stewart and what he did as a Panther his entire time here. But I've mentioned this before. I remember last year, I want to say it was against Chicago, maybe it was Atlanta, when Jonathan Stewart fumbled the football 3 different times. And then, only later on down the season, he says, oh, yeah, I kind of wish that maybe I would have given Cameron Artis-Payne some more snaps. Well, that would have been the time to do it. Yeah,
Yep.
I really do think that when it comes to evaluating a talent, that Ron Rivera does have a lot of ineptitudes in that area. But real quick, I want to address something in the chat room. Guys, this when it gets to draft time, I'm going to go in depth on a lot of different players. So, for example, my buddy Panther Fan 13, he's asking me about Brian Burns. Really mentioned Simmons, the defensive tackle out of Mississippi State. I haven't gotten a chance to scout these players yet and look at their tape and see what they do and see if they would fit what we're wanting to do here in Carolina. So if I were to say right now, oh yeah, Brian Burns, that's the guy that we need, or Sims, that's the best guy that the best bang for our buck at the position. I don't know that yet, so that's why I'm not gonna put that out there yet. But once the off season comes around, I'm gonna go in depth on a bunch of different players and get your hopes up on a bunch of players we probably won't draft. But we'll have fun doing it anyway.
Definitely. Carl Van in the chat room said, I've seen Post smash through the line. He can do it when he wants to. I think he's lazy. And it's an interesting point because there was and I was listening to one of the show. I think it was the Kyle Bailey and Garcia, and they had an Atlanta guy come on, and this was before the season, and he wasn't particularly complimentary of Poe and did kind of cite, not necessarily, but kind of motivation a little bit, and the emotional motor almost, and it's showing that he's just not he's not anywhere close to a dominant force. All right, numbers 252-228-5098.
Hey guys, this is Justin, Charleston, South Carolina. Hey, listen to the post game show right now, and I agree with both of y'all 100% about that window that y'all are talking about. I truly believe that this offense that we have right now, and starring Cam Newton, DJ Moore, Curtis Samuel, Christian McCaffrey, those guys, and I believe the year for us to get back to the Super Bowl would have been with this offensive setup we have right now. And like you said, Tony, next year we're going to be having some holes to fill, possibly replacing a center and Khalil. And it's like we have had some issues with offense and play calling this year, but nothing that I don't think that we couldn't have got over or haven't figured out. But I believe this was the year. If you would have told me first, second game this year, or maybe even 3 weeks into the season, that this was going to be happening, we were going to drop 3 in a row, I would have said, man, you're stupid the way we're playing.
Cam Newton said he would have slapped you.
It is just fell apart. Just completely fell apart. Yes, the tools are there on the offensive side of the ball. I really believe it. Those guys, they're DJ Moore, Curtis Samuel, they are going to be elite receivers. I truly believe it. They're going to be the best of the NFL. Some of the best in the NFL in the next couple of years. And Cam, he's playing out of his heart right now. I can't find anything negative in him. I do believe that some of these games that we've dropped have been one kick away, one drop away, one fumble away. Yeah. But you know what? There's still L's. Yeah. And anyways, I don't have the answer. I know that we got some big names on the defensive side of the ball. Big names, but we just can't pull it together on that side. We can't. We're trash. Anyways, guys.
We appreciate it. This is man, look, is that anybody who thinks that the offense is really the problem or any part of the problem is just silly. And it almost felt like this is that, yeah, we wanted to say, had we capitalized on some of those red zone opportunities early in that game, that game would have been ours. You think Cam Newton gets that first down, he converts that on that fourth down, I believe it was. And look, is that, but what could have, should have, don't give them an opportunity to put it on the refs in the replay. Now, I don't think that I don't even think the play calling was that bad. At first, you're sitting there going, well, man, that vanilla got bad, but, you got Cam Newton, you need 2 yards. That's what I was saying for earlier is that, like, this is what we got. So I think that the offensive play calling's there. I think the points have been there from the offense. I think this comes down to special teams and defense, and it's so clear that that's the case. I saw somebody mention, and when coming to the continued talk about Poe and KK Short, Cody, is that all we heard before was the reason that KK Short ate was because Starr was swallowing these double teams. For me, the one thing I need somebody to answer this to me is, why did the one technique defensive tackle for all of KK Short's first for the career so far play on the left side of the center and KK on the right? But this year with Poe, we put Poe on the right and KK on the left. I know that their assignments are probably similar, but why are you doing that? Why are you not putting your run blocking defensive tackle to match up against their right side? Because it seems like Ron Rivera always talks about running right is the power way to run in the NFL.
Yeah, and this is something that I know you've mentioned a lot. I kind of think that it's on coaching. Having a new defensive line coach and a new defensive coordinator, I kind of think that it really is just a scheme thing. Honestly, I really don't believe it matters too much. I kind of think you're almost picking your matchup. I mean, do you want your 3 techniques on the left guard or the right guard? And sometimes the right guard is the more favorable matchup. Sometimes it's the left guard. Sometimes you just want your one technique to eat up the center and one of the guards specifically. So, I mean, I don't really have the answer to that per se, but I don't know. I don't think that it should matter that much, though. I just feel that on the interior.
We see it with anybody before, though. Like, if that's the case, well, how come we never saw it with McDermott or Wilkes?
I don't know. I really don't have a good answer for you.
I know I'm almost posing this to the callers at this point. I'm posing this to the chat room. I'm posing this to the Panthers reporters. And in fact, Cody, let's go ahead and queue up. I think I got a video in there about an awkward exchange with it was Joe Person and Eric Washington, I believe. And let's cue up this, because what this has to do is about technique, about how these individuals, kind of the game plan and strategy, and this bizarre, weird exchange between, I believe it was Joe Person and Eric Washington.
You tried a couple things that looked like yesterday to generate more pressure up front. Saw you had your guys in stand-up positions in several opportunities, and a little bit more blitzing. How did you think those tactics worked out?
Well, I thought early in the game, we had pretty good hits and disruptions on the quarterback, even outside of the occasions where we got the guy on the ground, or we got Russell Wilson on the ground, which is a tough task. So from that standpoint, I thought it was better. we can still do a better job. And like I mentioned earlier, anytime you have explosive passes, you have to look at what the rush is doing or not doing, and then you tie those things together with our coverage and the coverage technique.
What went into your decision to try to stand up across the front?
Well, we make decisions about how we can best utilize the players and the personnel that we have. And every week our game plan is a little bit of a fluid situation. We make decisions based on what we think is best, Joe.
Except for in the third quarter.
We have tweaks and things that, just like an offense will. We'll see things from them that are unscouted that they'll throw out against us, and we have to react to it.
I guess, did you see another team using that? I mean, I guess I've seen it a lot at the college game too.
No, we didn't make a decision based on what we had seen. Every week we come in and try and make determinations about what we think would give us the best opportunity to be successful in any situation.
What's the benefit of that look?
What
is it? Kind of a little bit more movement, or what is?
Well, I won't get into the mindset behind why we decided to utilize what we did yesterday, and the technique and all of those things for obvious reasons. Like I mentioned, we whether we are in a 2-point stance or a 3-point stance, at the end of the day, we're executing the calls that we have in our system, and pre-snap movement for us is not anything that's new. We will frequently move around the movement pre-snap. There's a disguise factor. You don't want to give a quarterback a true and clear picture. And so we've done that throughout, and we utilized a little bit of that up front yesterday.
Zero answer to the question. Joe Person keeps prodding and pushing, and I almost felt like Washington should have just come out and said, I ain't giving away any of our tricks or weaknesses.
Yeah, I mean, listen, there's so much coach speak. I mean, whenever you're listening to these interviews, there's only so much you're going to be able to derive from it. I mean, they're only telling you these vanilla answers with just a little bit of this and that, but like they're not letting you know the things that we're wondering about and the things that we're wondering about. So, for example, you want to know why Dontari Poe is on the opposite side of where Starr used to play, and they just don't get into that much of X's and O's with the media, and they definitely should. But I think it also bears noting that Joe Person wasn't the only one that had a weird exchange with Eric Washington, and I don't know. I think that was just let this one speak for itself.
Take into consideration injuries earlier in the year, corresponding moves, those types of things. Is this the best possible depth in the secondary that Carolina can have right now?
I'm not sure I understand.
If it had not been for the Lord, I wouldn't have had another bitch come into my life. Not another. Nobody say that now, another like you say that now.
There's a lot of moving parts. There was injuries earlier in the year, obviously, that changed the things that you guys are able to do to find depth at the cornerback position. You're also playing the number 2 corner a little bit smaller to counter smaller, faster receivers, especially in the NFC South.
What are you talking about?
Across the board,
injuries
that have happened, and the depth that you have now is this best case scenario.
Not a bit. I still don't know what that shit means. Sound good about it. Now, not a mean. Don't.
Now, I made that. I made that at like 1:30 in the morning, being just silly. But I was listening to the press conferences yesterday. And so this is what I get frustrated with is that first of all of the reporters now act like the C3 podcast don't exist, which is fine. Y'all think we're small potatoes, and we are small potatoes. But I always get just irritated by the arrogance of people who are reporters, but really themselves are the only difference between us and them is greater access, right? And they are paid to do it. So they're going to be more involved in producing content. But, there's nothing that says that Joe Person knows anything about football. There's nothing that says that David Newton knows how to spell. And at this point, I get, and I'm fine with that. I'm not trying to be critical of them as their jobs and they don't do them well enough. But here's how they indirectly make a fan discussion feel. When someone comes out and says something about firing a coach, or what about Bird? Speaking of Bird on IR, baby Bird, pray for him. I think his time in Carolina is probably officially done with this moment. But they knock on us. They're like, and Bill Voth used to be great about this. It's just like scoff. He's like, oh, typical fan speak, typical fan talk. And then you get someone asking the coach a question that is so, and I'm sorry, Jordan, I like you. Like I'm not trying to be mean, but asking a coach to talk shit about the players on his team and what he has to work with in the middle of the season is not going to happen. And to say this is the question started out with is thinking back about those injuries that do you think we have the best secondary depth we could have? No, we have zero secondary depth and we don't even have a good secondary.
Yeah. And, Relly makes a good point. It's like all the media in the Charlotte are scared to critique the coaches. And I do think that it's kind of that small market thing, If you're in New York or, some big marketplace, the media doesn't care. They'll go after you all you want. But here in Charlotte, it's a smaller city. The Panthers are like royalty. I do kind of think that they're afraid to kind of step on toes. But to what you're saying with Jordan, yeah, I mean, what are you going to do? Say, yeah, the depth that we have behind our starters is just BS, man. Like we really, I mean, we're hurting out there. I mean, you're not going to get that from the defensive coordinator of the football team. So yeah,
and if they ever did that, if any coach ever did that, period, I would say you're the assholes that put together the roster. And on top of that, like, you want me to go out there and die for you and talk about missed opportunities, my ass, and you want to throw. So, I mean, it just seemed like this is that like, I just felt like that's a question that a reporter would have gotten mad at us for saying, like, is that like, oh, I can't believe you even asked that. And then the recovery to it was just like, not a now nutter. Not a now nutter. I don't know what that means. The cat calls line is 252-228-5098. We still got a good amount of calls to get through. Let's keep pounding through with these calls now that we've had our shenanigans.
Or J-Dub. And I gotta tell you one thing. I've sad to say this, but I think it's time Ron goes. And I'm pretty sure he's going to talk about it a lot tonight. So I'm going to take a little different angle, different take. Hopefully, I think the biggest reason he needs to go is because this team would have been markedly worse, I believe, if it wasn't for certain injuries. Once Matt Cleo got hurt, once Tulu got hurt, that line got better, in my opinion, with those two losses.
They were awful to start this.
For us to figure that out, and that's not acceptable. You have to know who your best people are, who does the best. You have to figure that out. You can't just say, well, he's starter. You have to be able to evaluate your own players, or you're completely useless.
Yeah.
DJ Morris, I kind of left him out because I would say once Torrey Smith got hurt and he came in, he excelled and did everything we really needed of him for the most part. And the only reason I didn't include that one when the Torrey Smith injury happened was because there'd be a good argument saying that, he was that far many weeks along as a rookie, But that one could be included if you want. But not knowing that this O-line isn't as good as it could be just by shuffling players or even bringing someone from outside is just sad. It's just sad. Like, who knows? They might stick Khalil and Tulu back in there before we're even out of it. So we're in right now. But that's just different. Other than the fact that he's a defensive-minded coach who's let his defense go. And that's the saddest part. Like, that's what you're here for. You can't do that. I don't know what they got for you. But that's my take. Let me know what y'all think. Keep pounding, everybody.
I think this is the point that we've been making in many ways, and Cody J-Dub has been saying stuff like this, and that is like, look, I think we're starting to see some weird things happen when it comes to the coaching staff. And we saw some signs of this in the past. We saw them when they cut Ben-A Wickery after that game, and then they come out and say, well, Ben-A wasn't doing the things we asked him to do. I felt like this was, again, going back to after 2015, Ron Rivera stopped being a player's coach and started being believing in his own legend a little bit, or his own hype a little bit too much. And the bizarre thing is that what about all that coach speak we heard about Matt Khalil? And now they don't even allow him back on the team to be a depth guy. Now Devin Funchess hurt and he's not even playing, and he's not like, how about this is instead of cutting the guy from the team essentially, or what you've done to Cameron Artis-Payne, what you've done to some other guys, is how about this is just take Devin Funchess off the field and say, get yourself together. We're going to go with some other guys. And when your opportunity gets called again, get back in there and make a play. But now you're like, hey, you're not even welcome in the damn building almost.
Yeah, it's insane. And this kind of goes back to the snaps of Curtis Samuel. Like, I genuinely feel like, Curtis Samuel played a lot in this game against Seattle, but it was only out of necessity. And I don't know what that is. It does feel like for a long time now, players, the bad, and look, this is a bad sign. The bad players that we have on the team, they'll get chance after chance after chance.
Yes,
Amini Silatolu. But our good players have to fight their ass off just to prove anything. I mean, look, we're talking about this guy right here. I mean, this guy that just left that defensive back in the dust, broke his ankles, has been fighting for time on the field.
Shaquille Griffin. That's Shaquille Griffin, a guy who have been people just singing his praises. Or Shaquem.
Yeah, absolutely.
The higher ranked player. Look, Curtis Samuel has an ungodly amount of touchdowns for 25 targets, 25 touches. My thing is this, is I look at this and I go, man, I don't care what these things that we're talking about that these other players can do that are so important to a coaching staff. What they can't do is a problem. And so, like, then you've got DJ Moore, who we sat on the shelf for the first 4 weeks. And I'm starting to wonder, well, damn, was he been doing this crap? He caught a 53 yard touchdown on his first damn catch of the NFL. Like, what if he just have been adding this and Curtis Samuel? So I think J-Dub is on to something right here. And as we continue to get new defensive coordinators, as we continue to get new offensive coordinators, this continues to be an issue. There is a constant here. There is a constant, and that is Ron Rivera. And that saddens me that you don't give more, if that's really the case, Cody, that he doesn't give more to his coaching staff and more trust in their decision making.
Yeah, it really is. And it's baffling, especially when you feel that you have better players on the football team that could be contributing right now. You've been on the Cameron Artis-Payne train since forever and a day. Before I was on the show. And the fact that, really, if you look at it this way, let's say Cameron leaves, which why wouldn't he? Why would he want to be here anymore?
I would never want to be around Ron Rivera again.
Yeah, he's never going to have the opportunity to play football here in Carolina. So, of course, he's going to go somewhere else. But then wherever he does go, they're going to look at him and say, well, you didn't play that much. And you had how many years there in Carolina? Why
and
didn't
you're
they play
29
you?
now. You're 29 now because he was a little bit older of a back when he came into the league. But here, though, and where I get really mad and really furious about this is that, look, this crap happens. I understand that. Look, I root for certain guys that I get attached to. Jameer Bird's one of those guys that, like, here, I'm rooting for those people because I like them as people. And, I've developed some affinity to them. But at the same time, Ron Rivera has had no problem after screwing Cameron Artis-Payne throughout his entire career, using him whenever it's convenient. You cut CJ Anderson. Well, we want to get more touches for Cameron Artis-Payne. We got to learn what this guy can do. Going back to, you said, again, you're referencing from 2 years ago, the same thing. So it's like, hey, we use you guys. I would feel if I was a player that I would start to wonder each and every day. Look, it's one thing for us to dump on Funchess, but now the coaching staff bought into it. I think that shows that that shows a dirty side of the business, maybe, that we keep overlooking when we just say Ron's a good guy. These guys are good dudes. How many times do you hear people say these people are good dudes and you've never met their ass?
Yeah, never once. And listen, frankly, that's a part of our coaching staff that I'm not going to miss if David Tepper decides to move on from them. It's something that's Joe been saying for a long time now. Andrew Norwell got paid in Jacksonville because of Manny Silatolu got hurt one year. I mean, that's essentially what it is. I mean, Taylor Moton might have been the best left tackle on our football team last year. So, I mean, I don't know, man. It really does. You call in the question what you already mentioned, Ron Rivera's ability to evaluate talent on this football team, and also giving guys a fair chance to make their mark. The CJ Anderson thing still drives me up the wall. If you're not going to play the man, one, why did you even bring him in? And then number two, why not trade him before the deadline? There's just a lot of dumb stuff with our coaching staff right now.
All right, back to the calls.
Hi, this is Carl D. I'm back.
Carl D.
I'll be brief this time. As I was saying about these coaches, can any of y'all on the panel tell me what in the heck is these coaches doing? Why? I mean, Ron comes to interviews and I am so sick and excuse my French, guys. I am so sick and damn tired of Rivera coming up here with these missed opportunities. We got to do better. Take damn responsibility, Ron. Stop blaming the players. This man never takes responsibility. I have never heard him say, "Oh, it's on us coaches."
Since 2014.
Admit that you're screwing up. And then he always say we got to look at film and adjust things and stuff. Hell, it's been 4 weeks now, and you coaches still ain't did that. I don't know, Tony. I'm getting off here. Maybe you guys can explain a little bit better. I'm getting off here. And finish. I'll be chilling in the chat room and listen to you guys. By the way, y'all keep a lookout on some of my comments because I might have some more craziness to say about this crazy coach. All right, keep pounding.
All right, that's Carl D. Thanks, Carl D. That's our boy right there. And again, we're just at this point, you said it earlier, Cody, is how come we're the only ones talking about this? And I know we're not like this podcast, but the actual fan base. But at this point, we continue to see this is that I just get mad when you call out dudes that you put in the most awful positions. You put Corn Elder on a man-to-man, and then with somebody said it earlier, with zero pass rush. We never would have done that before to some of our best players. And you said it earlier, Cody, is you give one guy chance after chance after chance, and then these other guys act like they're damn dogs on the floor, hoping that you're going to drop some cornbread crumbs after Thanksgiving. And this is, I think, where I've just started to turn a little bit and on the Rivera era, is that I just don't know if he is great at eyeballing those things, is that's where he should actually be good. Is that if you think about it, if you're not an offensive genius, if you're not a defensive genius that schemes dudes, kind of like Wade Phillips does, then maybe what you should be is like you're really great at managing the locker room. You're really great at motivating players and getting the most out of them. And right now, that's become a weakness. And his lack of I want a coach who falls on the sword, whether it's him or not.
Yeah, and Cam Newton, every single after every game that we lose, you know what Cam Newton does? He goes up there and puts all the blame on himself. I got to be better. We got to be better. He always puts it on him. But that's what a leader is supposed to do. But yet Ron Rivera, as the head coach, he's the leader of our team. You don't hear Ron Rivera do that too much. And that's telling. And it really does drive me up the wall. This is his what? 8th year with the Carolina Panthers as a head coach. As a player, there are players on the football team that have gotten better at things that they're deficient at. Ron Rivera is not getting better at the things he is deficient at. And by the way, Carl, whenever he goes up to that podium talking missed opportunities, he knows that's all he has to say. Ron Rivera has a disdain for the media. He'll tell you only a little bit, and then he's out. And that's really it, man. All you're gonna have is his lame answers from Ron Rivera going forward, man. That's why, as much as we want this season to be successful, it's knowing Ron Rivera and what we have seen thus far. It's gonna be tough, man. It really
Listen
is.
to this. Josh from Massachusetts with the comment maybe of the season. He said this is, I hope Tepper fires him, holds a press conference and says nothing more than he just missed some opportunities and drops the mic. How savage is that? Now, Lynn says this is, I've been so impressed with how Cam is handling his pressers. And let's go ahead and cue up that video. So proud of him. Is that here's the thing that's strange about this is what had everybody been critical of Cam in the past that was undeserved in many ways, but that he didn't just fall on the sword and put out the cookie cutter answers. He didn't come out there and just go, well, you got to shore up things, but he was actually authentic at times and showed his frustration. So now Cam Newton has got the best press conferences out of anybody on the whole damn team right now, including Ron Rivera, including Eric Washington. They're smooth. They are motivating. They are concerned, but they are also show a ton of leadership. And then he gets crap like this still, Cody.
Cam, your red zone issues today. Can you speak to particularly the 4th down run you had and the interception to man runs?
And you're a assistant pimp. You ain't even a real pimp. So you're supposed to be co-signing to the shit that I say. You want to lose your job? I'm going to pull your motherfucking application.
Well, pull your application for that question. Now I'll ask you that. I'll just say this. It's all right to ask about the 4th down because you want to say, hey, I think I got it. But I'm actually going back and I'm looking at that. And I know people have said that, look, Cam forced it. It wasn't the best. But I don't care. Is that like Cam Newton was going for the play that was going to make a difference. And it was there. It hit the dude in the hands. It popped up and it got intercepted. So it wasn't like some of the atrocious crap at times we had seen in the past where he just like threw it to the other team by accident. Cam has been 100% dealing. He has been so good and lights out in every area. And now he's lights out in the places that you say he wasn't. So I say to you folks who aren't ready to just say Cam is untouchable for the rest of the season, y'all are some assistant pimps.
Some assistant pimps. Yeah. And, but that's the thing, though. Ron Rivera is such a rigid person that you're not gonna see him change his ways. And Carl D in the chat says, but he doesn't deserve the Belichick treatment of getting away with that. And you're right, because Ron Rivera is no Bill Belichick. It's not even close. So yeah, for him to just give these small little answers, and again, we're not expecting him to open the playbook to all of us, but I mean, there really is a sense of, it's Ron Rivera's team. He's going to do what he wants to do. He's going to play who he wants to play. He'll continue to, subtly throw the players under the bus. I'll say, Cam Newton should have made that throw. He should have made this throw. And it's never on him. And I kind of hope that Josh from Massachusetts is right, that when if Tepper does ever drop the sword on him, he says those exact words, Ron just missed some opportunities.
Big tremendous.
Hey guys, I'm sad obviously from this past week, what happened. And I've been thinking about a trade that we might be able to do in the off season. Now, it kills me to say this, like literally kills me. But do you think we could trade, and don't kill me or hate me on this, because like I hate myself for saying this. Do you think we could trade Luke Kuechly to get a high round draft pick for next year, or maybe a couple of picks out of him? Like, I know he's probably one of the greatest linebackers to play of all time, and I don't know if it's Eric Washington's defense, but great players, they start to go downhill pretty fast, especially nowadays. The older he gets. So yeah, just want to hear you guys' thoughts on that. And again, like I hate myself for saying that, because I think Luke is probably the best player we have on the team. But yeah, keep pounding.
So first, I think that the fact that that this is even an acceptable discussion at this point demonstrates that Luke has not had the typical year that we're accustomed to him seeing. My question though is, despite how great Luke Kuechly is does a middle linebacker garnish that much collateral for the draft? And like, what team would, and I'm not saying pick a team and tell me what that team is, but think about a team. I'm trying to think of a team that has traded for a middle linebacker that high. Right. And right now, I think that this is Luke Kuechly. Is that what we got to do? Is I think we got him on another 2 years of his deal, maybe, or 1 year. Is like, hey, let's ride it out with Luke, even if we see some deterioration with Luke, or just the lack of, or just not the dominance we're accustomed to. Is that maybe we got to stop relying on Luke Kuechly and Cam Newton to win us games single-handedly?
Luke is obviously, I personally believe, and yeah, maybe, Julius Peppers is obviously a name as well, and Thomas Davis. We've had a lot of great defensive players. I don't think the Panthers have ever quite had a player as good as Luke Kuechly. And I do want to mention this, and I think we've said this before, when Luke is having a bad season, it's apparent, because you're used to seeing him make so many good plays that when he doesn't make a play,
ungodly plays too, not just as good plays, like plays that shouldn't really be made.
I guarantee that everyone in the chat has had an experience where they've been talking to a fan of another team, and they might not like the Panthers, but they like Luke Kuechly, because that man is incredible and he flies around the field. Listen, I understand the sentiment. It would have to be a team in the top 5, not even top 10. It would have to be a top 5 pick to trade Luke. And I don't even know if I would do it then.
And another problem is that where we claim to have the best linebacker core in the league right now might not be that, right? Is Thomas Davis, I think, is finally at age has started to catch up with him a little bit. And then you got Shaq going into a contract year. So unless you're ready to play, pay Shaq and move him to the middle, you're talking about that would leave us with a complete rebuild back there, or at that position group. And I think that would be tough. So sadly, I don't know if there is a player on the team that garners a lot of trade potential other than Luke Kuechly, sadly. And I think that, like, let's just keep him as a fixture and just be happy. And let's just hope he gets back on track next year to be in the Luke that changes games single-handedly, or that we just give him some damn help in front of him. That would be helpful as well.
And I do want to say, he played well against Seattle. I mean, he had that face mask penalty. People act like Luke has had like almost a bad year. And again, a bad year for Luke is still a damn good year for a lot of other players. I want to make sure that we're also giving credit. Luke also made some damn good plays. And he still does make damn good plays. It's just that he's missing more than he has. And I kind of agree with Legacy Lynn in the chat. She says she thinks that some of the bad plays may just be because of the mess that we have on defense. And I think that holds a lot of truth to it.
And somebody said earlier in the chat room is that Luke's out there babysitting the entire defense and shows that he's actually doing kind of making up for even more Washington deficiencies that we don't even that we can't see. So is that I just, I'm not going to, we are going to kind of at the end, we're killing you on this one. All right, next call.
Hey guys, Josh from Mass again.
Now let's trade Cam.
A little time to cool off after a third straight loss. I'm starting to look at the schemes the defense is running, and while I do think there's some personnel issues, I do think there's some communication breakdown between everybody and what's going on there. I think a lot of it just comes down to Ron is telling Washington to run this old school smash mouth type defense where, basically the rules that we have now aren't what wouldn't be in place. Because you look across the league and all of a sudden there's teams that have nobody for an O-line out there for years now. I mean, trash. I mean, dudes getting run over, like quarterback getting decimated on the regular. We don't really need to list off those teams because we all know who they've been. And of course, there's teams who get better with the draft. But then you look, and some of these teams will have the same garbage personnel, and all of a sudden, their quarterbacks have all this time and all this. Well, and I heard Tony mention it on Sunday, and I gotta say, it's something I've noticed in a lot of games. I watch way more than just the Panthers. I mean, they're my team, but I watch as much football as I can get my little eyeballs on. And really, I think it's a matter of there's just a lot more offensive line holding being allowed because they know if they keep calling that, it's not going to go well. If you're not going to have these high scoring games that are
if you call a hold on every 40-yard pass,
football viewers of the world, the people who don't watch unless it's big and exciting and explosive. So,
what an excellent point.
I think that's really just it. Is we're one of the defenses that's fallen, maybe victim, a little strong word there, but maybe fallen victim to the new way the NFL is working. Let me know what you think.
Yeah, look, is that what a tremendous point, and because the NFL is known, Cody, for highlighting rules that they really want to emphasize, and at the same time, if you are emphasizing some rules and you're not mentioning other rules as being ones to emphasize, you are indirectly and maybe even directly de-emphasizing those rules there. And I think this is the other thing is that we don't have a purely dominant pass rusher at the same time on the edge. So our guys are is that, look, I bet you get away with a ton of holds on the defensive tackles all day. When they're apparent is when the offensive tackles just get smoked and the guy is trying to do something. And we're not doing that at the same time. So it's a little of everything. But right now, our defensive front is just losing the point of attack.
Yeah, and it's so infuriating because that isn't what the Panthers have ever been like. You know, we're dominant on the defensive line. And yeah, it's unfortunate, man. It's like you said, when teams run the ball, it's like a kick to the balls. You know, but one of the things I've noticed, whenever our defensive linemen seem as if they're so close to making the sack, the quarterback will sneak away and throw the ball 30 yards downfield. And I mean, Russell Wilson did it. I mean, it really is. It's annoying, man. But that's why I said football is won in the trenches. You have to build up the offensive and defensive line. And that's what I'm hoping that we do. That's what I'm hoping that we put a premium on. Because I feel as though the picks that we've made, they have not panned out, man. I mean,
yeah, we've really had a bad draft under Gettleman now in retrospect.
Yeah. Yeah. There's nothing else to say. Yeah.
All right. Shout out to Jeremy Mayhew again on Facebook. I know he's still watching there. All right. A couple more calls and we're out of here for the night.
Yo, what's up, man? Shout out to C3, Best Panthers podcast out there. This is Coltrane. So I got a little a weird perspective on Sunday, man. I personally think it's going to be a win-win for me at least. Let me tell you why. If we win, that's a good thing for our players. It gets us back on the right track. We stay in the hunt for the playoff, and it makes the players feel good. Gives them more confidence, much needed confidence. If we lose, it's still a good thing because it furthers the chances of Rivera getting fired. So to me, it's a win-win. If we win or lose, it's still a good thing for my boys. I'm cool. I'm ready for the team to come in and do things right with the Panthers. So if we lose, that's cool. Just further the chance of Rivera getting fired, man. Let me know what y'all think about that. Peace and love.
Cody, this is where I've just resided on the issue is that I'm kind of tired of just kind of liking the situation or the situation being just good enough. Like, I'm just scared that we're going to get to 9-7. What is the number that is just enough? Like, I either want us to say, hey, we went 10-6. We made the playoffs. Hell, we unfortunately weren't able to catch the Saints, but we did almost everything we could control to have a great season. And then we give a stamp of approval to Ron Rivera, a stamp of approval to Norv Turner, and a stamp of approval to Marty Herney. But I just don't want it to be like this is, oh, we're stamping it because we're scared of what the unknown is. So I think at the end, what we are is that's the point there. If we lose, this question. If you lose I think of this is that the only thing that makes this really tremendously hard to answer is like if we upset the Saints one game.
Yeah, and so okay, right now there's no hope that we're going to win a division. Not only would we have to beat the Saints twice, but we would need the Saints to lose another two. Yeah, well, no, but not even we would need them to lose to maybe Dallas and Pittsburgh, and that's not happening. I'm sorry that just isn't going to happen. I'm still hopeful that maybe just as their division rival, we can get one at home. God, just for the morale, I'm hoping that. But no, listen, Coltrane makes a good point, man, and it's a tough pill to swallow. If this season goes down the drain, there's a chance Ron Rivera might not last until the end of the year. I mean, after that kind of start, so it'd be one thing if we did what you said, Tony, and finished 9-7 or 10-6 and barely made the playoffs. Even then, I still think there's a chance that Ron Rivera is shown the door. Even if that happens. If that happens, I think there's a chance they show him the door. However, if we fall out 100%, I seem to think Ron Rivera's gone before the end of the season.
And maybe sooner than later is a good thing to go ahead and say we've already opened this. This will be quick and decisive. We're targeting a GM. We're targeting a coach. The last thing you want to do is what Carolina has been forced to do in some of the past situations, and that is fire people late or or fire your general manager 3 days before the season start. For like that type of stuff.
Yeah.
I want us to do it with more confidence. And I even heard Masim Muhammad talking about Ron Rivera. And what he said is that it's not that Ron, he was talking about the Riverboat Ron moniker. And he said, I don't want a coach that gambles. I want a coach that's aggressive in a way that exudes confidence in his team. So, and that is that like, you know what? Give Cam the ball and go do it. You have faith instead of planning for the worst possible event and then getting yourself into a place where you have to make a bet. I don't know is if Ron Rivera has demonstrated the capability to do that because he is conservative. He is a defensive coach, and it is what it is. Last call of the night.
Hey guys, I just listened to the calls from Sunday night, and I was pretty drunk at those calls. This is Mel. So that is what it is. I guess my question is, after looking at the season, I guess you could say the best team to come out so far is the New Orleans Saints, probably followed by the LA Rams, and then the Kansas City Chiefs. If we're going to compete, say we get new coaching, what would our philosophy be? As much as I love Cam, I don't think Cam is a 50 throw per game type of quarterback. And putting all of
you don't want any quarterback throwing 50 times.
Weight on Christian McCaffrey, I don't think it's the right move either. So that's just my question. Where do you see, if we're going to be a high-flying offense, where do you see that high-flying offense coming from?
Well, I think we're actually seeing it, to be honest. I think we're seeing the early genesis of what could be one of the most dynamic offenses around, is that if you get a little bit more consistent, I think this is at some point we're going to have to, and here, there's two topics I think that should be noted tonight. One is nobody has talked about Graham Gano tonight. How this man look. And I saw a tweet today. Tonight, by the way, how about this? There's a tweet and I saved it, and that the Panthers have been bringing in kickers today to talk about. Let me see. Here it is. I think I got it, is that they brought in some kickers to test out today or this week in case they decide not to go with Eric Washington. I saw this. I need to check the date. Graham Gano, I need to check the date on it because it could be one of those tweets that somebody threw from 3 years ago out. But Graham Gano has missed any type of crap from us, which, you know what, is that crap on you, old Graham Gano. You've left there's been a lot of missed opportunities out there. But I don't think that you have to really, I think we have a high flying offense right now, Cody. But Marty Herney and this organization has never really gone and gotten a free agent that has made an impact and a difference. So what I think this is I think we're one free agent away on offense to put the complete pieces together and then focus a lot of draft capital on the offensive line and defense and maybe that and see what you can do.
Yeah. If you were to pull someone in, where would you want to, what player on offense would you want to, not even a specific player. I'm saying what position do you think we could bolster on offense in free agency?
Well, I think that maybe you have to go. Maybe it could be something as not as sexy. How about a tight end?
Yeah. I'm not mad at that. I mean, some of the booking, Greg.
Yeah, I mean, at this point right now is that I'm thinking Greg might even be done now. I mean, like, is that with a disappointing season like this, with the continued problems with his foot, he's going to have surgery in the offseason, he said. I just, you got to wonder how long that's going to be. And then where is Ian Thomas gone? He's completely disappeared at this point. And I don't know how
it drives me insane. It drives me insane.
But at the end of the day, I don't know if you're going to be ready to say we want Manhertz and Ian Thomas, an unknown commodity at this point with a lot of potential to be the guys. So maybe it's there. Maybe it's the addition of a little bit more proven veteran that still has a little bit more gas in the tank. Kind of maybe like what Alshon Jeffrey did for the Philadelphia Eagles 2 years ago, or, I don't know what it is, but we haven't ever added a piece in free agency that has made a difference. We thought Poe was going to be that guy, and he hasn't been. So I think that there's no way that you fix everything through the draft. Like, you have to have some things work in free agency to account for those draft picks that go wrong. And you got to have some draft picks that account for the free agents that go wrong. And I think we're going to have to hit twice, lightning in a bottle in free agency to either get somebody that can make an immediate impact, not just have potential, where in a year we're saying, well, we still got to figure out what this guy can really do for us.
Yeah, we need to hit around the free agency, and we need to hit the draft, man. And listen, honestly, you can have one good offseason that changes your trajectory forever. I mean, I know I've already said it, but if you look at what the Saints did, draft before last, Alvin Kamara, Ryan Ramczyk, Marshawn Lattimore, every one of their players they hit on, and they're starters. So, I mean, if you add that kind of talent in a draft, bring in a few good free agent pieces, they don't even have to be the biggest of names, just good players that complement the rest of your power pieces, and you're on a roll, man. You're ready to move.
Yeah, and that's what you got to do. And it is possible. Look at how quickly the Rams, the Chiefs, and the Saints have gone from arguably dumpster fires to now the toast of the town. I think we have enough. Look, when you got Cam Newton, I think this goes back to the Luke Wilson or whoever that guy was that we played the clip from. There's a lot to work with in Carolina as well. And instead of just saying those and how do you get more out of them, I'm starting to feel like it's going to be really hard for Ron Rivera to win and ingratiate himself with me for the rest of this season. There's going to have to be some miraculous crap, because starting 6-2 and finishing 8-8 is a disaster. And there's a good chance right now that we start 6-2 and finish 7-8, 7-9, right? No, 7-8.
That hurts even listening to. That hurts even listening. Even hearing you say that makes me sick to my stomach. With the talent that we have on this team, that's embarrassing, man. And it does. I mean, I don't know if maybe we're jumping off the deep end, but it feels as though our coaching staff can't right the ship. But let me tell you, man, Cam Newton's on Instagram, and he's still running the treadmills, saying it's going to be all right. And Cam Newton is still a beacon of hope, y'all. He still believes in this team. But I don't know, man. But it's a tough spot right now to think that that we're going to turn this around.
He has to, right? The players have to believe in themselves. The coaches have to believe in themselves. It's our job to panic, but this isn't panic. That's the thing. We have been very cautious, and look at, even with me with Eric Washington saying, look, is that these guys are missing plays and some things like this. I don't know if it's just Eric Washington. Well, this time it's everybody. So that's kind of where we're at, guys. This is the C3 Panthers podcast. Oh, we got to do our ice up picks. I'm going to go first, Cody, because you might have something prepared. Mine's easy. I was going to ice up Rivera. I was going to ice up Fowler. But, look, I'm just going to ice up the good old faithful Donald Trump. And, look, I know that a lot of people get mad. It's not political. It's this. Donald Trump did something that I hate anybody does. And that is the other day on Twitter when that ice storm kind of hit the Northeast and caused all those airplane delays and things around the Thanksgiving time. He's like, oh, well, look at this. It's record cold levels and so much for global warming. Well, I get so pissed at this. Anybody who ever, and there's always somebody on my timeline that goes, oh, it's so cold outside. I thought it was supposed to be warm and the planet was supposed to be getting warm. Well, look, you jerks. I don't really know what the end game and result is going to be, but I do know this, is that most actions have reactions. And we have been artificially depositing carbon into atmosphere in a way that the world hadn't seen prior to the industrial era. So something's got to happen. So if you want to say that it's a positive effect, then you can say that. If you want to start arguing that the growing season is going to get longer, you go for it. But the other thing is like our actions, like we can't just act like what we do has no consequence. But then you jerks, every time in Greenville, North Carolina, or when we're in Spartanburg or wherever they hold the damn training camp, and it is God like heavenly hot, like hell hot. Like, will you want me tweeting you and being like, so much for saying climate change is bullshit? It's hot as bleep out here. You know, is that anecdotal crap is silly. And so I wish the president of the United States wouldn't have been one of those people. How about this? Is all the crap that people are upset with in politics. And I'm upset about the tweet that says that is trolling me on my timeline about global warming, climate change or whatever. And I'm not saying the world's ending, but I just believe that don't shit where you sleep. Start taking care of the planet a little bit.
I saw.
Thank you.
Yeah, man. No, I'm 100% in agreement with you, man. That's a big issue for me. My ice up pick tonight. You know, ESPN tends to struggle. And Tony, you've even said, you told me you've cut the cord yourself. You know, you're not a cable or a satellite guy, man. And
started yesterday.
Yeah, and you know, you're not alone. And whenever people do that, it hurts ESPN, right? So ESPN, they're really struggling. They're really trying to up their broadcast and do good things. But ESPN doesn't know how to get out of its own way. More importantly, it knows how to get in the way of other people. And maybe you've heard about this, but every Monday night during Monday Night Football, they have Booger McFarland, and he's sitting on this platform that moves along the sideline, you know, so that we can call the game right in front of the players, so that way he has a first-hand view of the action. But there's just a little problem to that. No one can see what the hell is happening.
Well, you can't say I didn't have a good view of that freaking shot right there. Ridiculous. Booger, get out of the freaking way!
Oh, God.
They have a monitor on the back of Booger McFarland to broadcast what his giant body is obstructing people from seeing. Do you know how much money people are spending to sit that close to the football field on Monday Night Football just to have his ass in the way? Listen, man, and it's probably not Booger's fault, but I know for sure someone felt that this would be an excellent idea. And oh my God, you have just ruined a bunch of people's nights every single Monday night, man. So to ESPN, go ahead.
There is this awesome tweet going around, a GIF on Twitter of Booger McFarland to like playing to some music, and it's got him like sitting on top of a car riding down the road.
Yeah.
Like, and it's just amazing. It's ridiculous. It's so silly. It's just so gimmicky.
Yeah, it really is, man. To ESPN and whoever decided that shit would be a good idea, come on, man. Ice up, son.
All right, guys. Yeah, that's the Ice Up picks of the week. And look, we've been getting things done. That's what we do, is we just got to get back to winning, right? That's what we got to get back to, is get back to winning. And like our boy Coltrane said, is that it's a win-win proposition. And you know what else is a win-win proposition, is you being a part of the C3 Panthers podcast. Because whether the Panthers are playing good or bad, we're going to be here supporting the team, supporting this community that we're building, that we're expanding Panther Nation. We're part of that culture change that is happening, right? Be a part of the longest running Panthers podcast by turning your phone to portrait mode, smashing that thumbs up button, hitting the subscribe where you can. Like us, retweet us, check us out on whatever you listen to your podcast on, and leave a review and send us an email, carolinacatchronicles@gmail.com. Let us know you like the show, you're listening to it. And the Cat Calls line is the best part of the show now, 252-228-5098. And my homeboy producing the show, Cody Lastney, he's pretty damn awesome too. Cody, how can they hang out with you on Twitter until Sunday?
Thank you, brother. CODYLAC, Cody Lack, at Cody Lack on Twitter. Like I said, everybody's been showing me a ton of love on Twitter. I love to interact with everyone. I'm approachable. Hit me up, message me, DM me. You already know what it is. I'm out here for the Panther family, man.
Tremendous support. Thank you for all the well wishes. Thank you for the donations and the super chat today. Thank you for our Patreon supporters, and check out those silly videos that we put in the show. You might like them. And if you like things like the Cam Wows, I Stand With Cam t-shirt, or even one that is great is the C3 Voice of Panther Nation t-shirt. You can find those on the website, carolinacatchronicles.com. And we'll see you next Tuesday, or actually Sunday, after the game.